Yes, absolutely amazing. Before we get into our speakers, we're just gonna ask you all to stand. We wanna appreciate, we need to give honor where honor is due. The lady who's allowed us to be here, our director, the founder of Women Today. Come on, ladies and gents, be on your feet. Give it up for Lady Locadia. Come forward, they need to see you. They don't know who's Lady Locadia.
People don't know you.
Yes, this is our director, the founder of Women Today, the one who's allowed us to be here, the one who's arranged all this. I mean, some people pay hundreds of pounds just to have a summit like this, but we're having it for free. Yeah. Free, guys, free. Thanks to Lady Locadia. So our director, Lady Locadia. Thank you all so much. You can take your seats.
Thank you. And so tonight we have an array of people, wise people who are going to be coming to speak to us. And I do hope that we are ready and expectant to hear what they've got to say and to learn some new things. Just to let you know, as you look through that door, they are the restrooms, just in case you need a restroom. We are not expecting any fire at all. So if you hear any alarm, please take your seats and just feel the warmth. I'm joking. We all assemble outside. We all assemble outside because they assemble where the grass area is. Okay, so yes, that's just a few things about what we're doing here, but we are very happy that you have managed to come. And so I'm going to introduce you to our first speaker. Her name is Ruth Kozai. She's a career coach, a speaker, and a leader. Yeah, she is a force of empowerment. I like that word. She's a force of empowerment with a proven record guiding women and diverse professionals towards success. As an award-winning coach and highly rated speaker, her journey is an inspiration. As a young black woman, she shattered glass ceilings in the corporate world, navigating a male-dominated industry. I will not be a feminist tonight. The experience fuels her passion and makes her a relatable role model for those facing similar challenges. So I would like us to put our hands together this evening as we welcome Miss Ruth Kozai as she's going to speak. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. It's a business seminar, right? So I know you're here to learn about strategies to thrive. So I'm going to hit you with a fact. 1 in 5 businesses fail in the first year. That number rises to 1 in 5 in a period of 5 years. So in this room, have we all come up with an idea? Half of us would be successful and half would fail. That is just how it is. But to start off the spirit, I want everyone to look over to the next side. If you have an idea or already are in business, just look to your neighbor and let them know that it's not going to be me. You are not going to be a statistic in that number. It certainly isn't going to be you. Why? Because I hope that by the end of my speech here today, I would have equipped you with some actionable strategies and tools that you can use to either take your idea from idea to business to a thriving business, or whether you are in business, I can help you sort of reignite that spark of why you started your business, and then again come up with strategies to even expand ahead of that. Now, she did say that I am experienced, so my experience helping businesses has been a product of generating over 10 billion in revenue transactions in the transport industry. And I had a friend of mine that asked me, what separates $1 billion contract from a $1,000 contract? And I said, nothing. To be honest, there is nothing special. It's just money at the end of the day. But what I have realized is that the $1 billion businesses, they get those contracts because they have planning processes, they have people, and they have systems. Call it the PSP system. So whether you're in business or whether you're not in business, that's what I'm hoping to be touching on today. How do you plan? How do you have systems? And how do you have the right people to be able to attract those $1 billion contracts, right? So I'm Ruth Kozai. You have already explained a little bit about me. I call myself a growth strategist. I'm a mover. I'm a connector of people. Why? Because I always say, give me a person, give me a business, give me something with a problem, I will move it from point A to point B. Yeah. Based on my experience as a project manager, it's not just strategy, it's not just, oh, you have to do this. I will help craft a roadmap to say this is how we are going to get there. For the past decade, I have built a successful career in business development within the transport sector. So my role has been generating revenue, increasing the bottom line. So I've made sure that I'm as important in the business, so I never have to be redundant. But what that has allowed me to do is I work with senior leadership. It's allowed me to really understand how these leaders work, how do they drive a company forward. And then also I'm a founder of a women's networking forum called the Executive Branch, and I also do coaching. So I'm surrounded by people and business owners, and I get to see how they've taken the idea to a business. So I'm really surrounded by people that are, shattering their own ceilings and running their own race as well, which is as important because we'll touch on that as well. So I've been in a unique position to sort of gather information, just stocking it up for moments like this where I can get to share it. So I hope that I can share some of the blueprint secrets that I have been able to get, so then we can help you in this room understand what it takes to thrive in today's competitive landscape. So my discussion points, apologies. Oh, is that me? So my discussion points today are going to be touching on 3 things. We're going to talk about the foundations, the importance of why we need to have a strong foundation. So whether you are thinking of an idea or you are at the business, that foundation, we're going to evaluate and see how that looks. We're then going to talk about growth strategies, and then we're going to then talk about leadership. So I'm hoping that by the end of this session, we would have touched on how we strengthen those foundations, how we develop and curate effective growth strategies, and how we evolve as a leader. Now, I do have 15 minutes now, I think, so I'm going to try and go quickly, but I will provide an overview, and then if you want to find me after the event, we can dive into a little bit more information and details, right? If you just go to that. So the first one is your why. For so many people, they have ideas that aren't based on their why. I have had people that have come to me and have said they want to run a healthcare company. They want to do a dom care company, right? Domiciliary care. You ask them why they want to do it, they don't even know why. They just know that it's profitable, it's what other people are doing, right? And I like your expression of why you started doing it. You wanted to express yourself. Now, if you have an idea, my first thing that I always tell people is be able to explain the problem in one statement. What is it that you want to solve from that idea? And don't have the idea, but rather have a problem. That's how you build a business that is essentially people are going to need. So a problem could be homelessness, right? That's the problem. Maybe through your own story, you've summarized the problem statement into homelessness. The different ways in which you can build your business might not just be providing shelter. It might be having a kitchen soup. It might be providing clothes. It might be all these other things, right? You don't just get into a car and drive. You put the sat-nav, right? So think of your problem or your why statement as the sat-nav. It will give you different ways of getting there. But so many of us start with this is what I'm going to do to solve that problem, but actually it should be the other way around, right? So this is why it's important to always understand your why. It's an ambition statement of what is it that you want to see. So taking the homelessness example, my vision is people won't be on the streets. We're not going to achieve that. I might not even achieve that in my lifetime, but it's something I'm aspiring to. So everything that I do now is going to be linked with making sure people are off the street, right? Your mission is what you do. So how am I going to get people off the streets? Maybe I'm going to deploy people to go give them blankets. Maybe I'm going to speak to housing developers to get them space. Now it starts to, we start splitting up the different ways in which we'll make money. And then the values are your guiding compass. If I'm saying that I want to take people off the streets, and then I'm living lavishly, or I'm not dedicating my time. That is your brand, essentially. How do people know that you are what you do? It's essentially how you then build your business. So the vision is what you want to get to. The mission is the vision is the overarching statement of what you want to see in this world being better. The mission is what you're going to do, and then your values are how you're going to do it. That being the first step. So say you've come up with your idea, you've worked on this. So what I want people to move from, right? It goes from 1 to 3. We need to not go from 3 to 1, right? So the second bit now, when you understand why you want to get into business, you then go into the planning. So this is that sat-nav journey there, the postcode. This is am I going to take a bus? Am I going to take a coach? Am I going to walk? Am I going to cycle, right? You do a business plan. And what I mean by this, I always tell my clients, do your plan on one page. We've gotten into this idea, and I know Igor Labs, you're here, might disagree with me, but the reason why I tell people to write their business plan on one page is because it's easier to look at. So many times, even I've had to do business plans like, 50 odd pages, but you don't revisit it as much. So if you have it on one page, you can then say, okay, you can look at it every day, and every day you're like working towards that business plan and all the aspects of it. So now, from understanding your idea, you now need to plan, okay, how am I going to make it a reality? And you work on that. So that could include, you need to obviously understand what makes you unique, what is your target market, how are you going to make money, what are your short-term, long-term goals. There's the financial planning as well that you also need to take into there. And once you understand that, then you come to your branding. And I don't mean branding as in just your logo. I mean branding as in when each and every one of you walk into this room, you all represent a brand. You have your why, which is why, we talk about this fulfilled life, right? You need to understand what is your mission, what's your personal mission when we talk about personal branding. You have an idea, so maybe for me, my branding is to empower as many people as possible, women especially. By planning, how I do it is through speaking, is through the networking events that I do, is through the business coaching and other things that I do. That's how I achieve my why. And then my branding is in the way that I talk, in the way that I interact with people. How do people feel when they see me? Am I living all of these things? Can they tell that this is my personal mission from my branding? And that's what that's about. So there's obviously the marketing side, which Joe is going to talk on a bit later. But the branding is, what is it that you want people to see? When now you've got your idea and you've made your plans, what do you want people to see? Shall we go to the next one? Conscious of time. The next one is about growth strategies. So I have seen businesses that work, that thrive, are businesses that have systems and have automations. This is also the stage where you start thinking about getting your customers. So sometimes we have a customer or an opportunity, and then we work backwards with our branding and then the why and so forth. But actually, once you've got those foundations, this is the stage now when you think about, okay, so how do I go from now idea to one customer? And how do I build on that one customer to keep generating money? So this is after you've laid your foundation, then you start putting the bricks up to make the house, right? And for all of this to work, there is a story of a man who built his house on rocks, and there's a story of a man who built his house on sand, right? The purpose, the way this will grow is if your house is on rock and not on sand. So it's always important to make sure that you have strengthened those foundations. Now, gone are the days where, as a founder or as a business owner, you want to do everything alone. There are tools. IT is a booming industry, right? You don't have to do it by yourself. It'll be like you have, answering phone calls, and then now you want to send emails, but actually spending some time to understand, okay, now I've got this idea. What does it look like from start to finish when I engage a customer? When a customer comes to me, what are the steps that they're going to, what are all the touch points that they're going to interact with my business? You look at those touch points, and then you start to see, okay, can I automate this process? maybe you do consultations. People can fill out a form. They don't need to call you. They don't need to interact with you. You will just send them a booking form, and they will book a meeting with you. You've already taken time away from doing the hard work, right? So you want to find ways in which to work smarter and not harder, because this is where, as a founder, we want to be involved in every single thing that we don't even think about this. So think about systems and tools that you can use. Then the next thing, you want to think about customers. How do you get your customer? Is it a person? Is it a business? How are you going to go about it? And I want to challenge you to not just think conventional. So take my healthcare idea that I mentioned a bit earlier. Yes, you can go to customers. Yes, you can go to consoles. That's usually the traditional way that people do things. But there's other ways of doing that. There is tendering that you can do beyond just the console. You can be part of frameworks with the NHS. You start thinking about different ways in which you can increase your customers. So growth isn't just about like adding the customers as I'm talking about. It's about just making sure that you're scaling sustainable, right? As an idea from a business, every single day that you work on your business, you're growing ever so slightly. You don't want to grow to the point that you're running. You have to crawl, you have to walk, you have to run, right? So it is a process. And then innovation is another aspect that will contribute to your growth. How innovative are you in your businesses? So Kuda, I'm going to come to you because you answered. What are you doing in your business to stay innovative and to stay ahead of the curve?
Understanding the trend. Understanding the trend. Understanding the trend of how media is being consumed by the customers.
Yeah, okay. I like that because that can be applied to everyone, understanding the trends in your own industries. And that's going to require you going to networking events. That's going to require you reading. That's going to require you to do silent focus, to be speaking to various individuals. And it's not just you wake up and have an innovative idea. It comes from the people around you. It comes from your knowledge. It comes from you reading. So this is always a very overlooked step as a founder. We don't factor in the time for us to learn about how we can be innovative. We just focus on let's get the customers, maybe a little bit of the systems, but certainly not this. And as a business development specialist, this is where I spend a lot of my time. You will not believe, most of my days are spent reading, because when that one client comes with this project, I will know exactly what to do. So it is always important to make sure that you adapt, you seize the opportunity, and you put yourself out there, right? And then we go to the final bit, which is about leadership. So this is now, how do you evolve as a leader? So how do you go from just having an idea, being a founder, to then being a CEO? And when I talk about leadership here, it's not about leading teams. Sometimes leading looks like leading yourself. So these are some of just the characteristics that I've seen in people that have been able to thrive. And I hope you also will take something from this, right? So starting from the bottom here, as a founder, everything's your idea, everything's yours, so you want to hold on to it. But the first thing you're going to need to learn as a CEO is learning to delegate, and that is hard. As a self-confessed OCD slash non-delegator at all, this was the biggest challenge for me in my business. It was like, how do I trust someone with my idea? They can't execute it like I can execute it, right? But then I found myself that I was working so many hours, I was working into the night, because the truth is you can't do everything. And instead of spending, 10 days trying to work out how to market, get someone who does marketing, they can do it in 2 days. You're cutting time, you're getting things done a lot quicker. And if you want to be a leader, you just have to learn to trust people. And if you get someone and they don't work out, you just find someone else until you get it right. Sooner or later, you will find a formula to finding the right people, but you will need to learn to delegate. And then once you learn to delegate, there is then the team building aspect. Once you have the team, how do you then lead that team to be executing what you're doing? I think often not. A lot of people come to me that are business founders, and they have a team, but they don't spend time explaining what they want from the team because everything's just all in their head. It's just that little, oh yeah, I've learned how to delegate, tick. The team building is like, and then they start paying people to do nothing because they just, they don't want to let go. So team building is another important aspect if you want to go from founder to CEO. What are you doing to invest in your team? And I know as a founder or, as you're growing into the CEO, it is a lot of money because it means training, it means spending time with your team, it means those team building activities. And you may not be in that position, but I urge you, if you make sure that you have the right people, your business will thrive. So that is important. The other part I've seen is emotional intelligence. I think the best founders and the best leaders that I have been around are those that can manage not only the emotions of the team, but their emotions as well. And they can navigate stress and conflict effectively. Now, I know some of us, and I speak as a woman, very emotional. We're very emotional people. Something goes wrong, we want to cry. Something goes wrong, we're shaking. And it's just in our nature. But this is the time to tap into that masculinity and that masculine energy, should I say. Because when you learn to manage your emotions, you don't just react. You take time to process something. If something happens, it wouldn't be just you're firing someone and then potentially getting sued, etc., which we don't want. But just being aware of people's emotions, being able to manage that, which is also part of the team building activity as well. But if you're in the growth stage, it helps you also build and maintain those relationships that you need for growth. So that's another aspect that is really good. And then flexibility. As much as you can have your roadmap and your vision and you know exactly where you're going, there could be roadblocks. The roads could be diverted. You need to remain adaptable and flexible as a business founder. When we look at Nokia, for example, you look at Nokia and you look at Apple, right? Nokia was not very flexible compared to Apple, and you can tell the difference because their revenues, balance sheets looked all different, right? So again, it goes back to what Gumbo was saying about that, being aware of what's happening, the trends, and then being able to be flexible. So when you understand your why, you can be flexible on the how, right? But if you're like firm set on like, this is how I'm going to do it to get to the why I need to do it, you won't be flexible. So Nokia was just like, we're just doing phones and that's it. Whereas Apple, we want to make a small device, a small computer device, right? And then now they're into mobile phones, they're into watches, they're into iPads, they're into Mac. So the how they've got there has evolved, and that's how they've maintained their flexibility. But their why was like, okay, this is where we need to go, but how we get there, we'll figure it out, right? And then the last thing is being a visionary leader. You can't have a team, and you can't delegate, you can't do all these things if you yourself don't have a long-term direction of where you want to take your company. So you need to be able to inspire innovation and guide teams towards the future. That's how you create a business that is sustainable. So the role of a founder or a business owner will evolve. There are other things that I didn't put in there because I think I'll be speaking the whole night. But it's also important to maintain balance. I think as well here, you've got women, you've got men, we're fathers, mothers, career women, a sister or something. We've got so many roles, and you don't want to let the business consume everything because that's time that you will never get back. So you need to find a way that you maintain the balance. When it's time for work, it's time for work. When it's time for personal, it's time for personal. And maintain that focus. And just whatever idea you have, just shorten the time between thinking it and doing it. So hopefully from that, things to take out of it is, thank you. In short, I know I did speak for a little bit. Planning strengthens your foundation. So before you just jump into business, make sure that you've taken time to do your research, to validate your business idea, and to have a well-defined vision. A strategic business plan as well as the compelling brand. How do you want people to know you when you get out into the world? Systems enable growth, and people flourish under strong leadership. The best businesses have great teams because of who leads them. So with that, an action for everyone is to focus on planning, scaling sustainably, and developing leadership skills. So thank you so much.
Much, Ruth Kuzai. How many of us think that was amazing? Come on, give it up for Ruth Kuzai. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Right, I won't say much. I'm not going to dilute that. I'm still digesting it. But what I managed to catch was, some of us were doing it the other way around. So the 3, 2, 1, it's meant to be 1, 2, 3. You need to find the why first and then go on the planning route and then have a brand, And wherever you're going, remember, you're that brand. So what are you saying about yourself? What sort of a brand is it? I won't say much, like I said. Anyway, we're moving on swiftly. So up next is Jo. So Jo Long, she has a background in marketing. I think this will tally with some of the things that she'll talk about will match with what Ruth Kuzai was saying. So Jo has a background in marketing and commercial experience in the corporate and small and medium enterprise sectors, the SME sectors. Jo is not your usual marketer, yeah? Yes. So Jo specializes in strategic marketing, ensuring any marketing activity aligns and drives positive contributions to an organization's overall objectives, always keeping in mind commercial aspects, pressures and expectations by developing strategy, content writing and planning. So I hope you've got your writing pads out, Jo will be saying a lot, so yeah, make sure you have one. Yeah. So recently she was awarded the Level 6 accreditation in sustainable marketing by the Chartered Institute of Marketing. I think that deserves a round of applause. So Jo now introduces new frameworks and models to discover sustainable activities already in place and develops a roadmap to become more responsible organization, communicating practices and progress internally and externally with clarity, authenticity, and confidence. Jo says, for me, marketing isn't all about just selling products or services. It's about telling stories. I think we can relate to what Ruth was just saying. That's why I said it's all intertwined. So make sure you're listening. So she's building on your brand's reputation and cementing your organization's authority, authenticity, and presence to boost profit, social values, and the planet. So please, welcome Jo Long.
I'm going to set a timer. I've got 20 minutes, right? It's going to be a bit of a ride, yeah? Roller coaster. Okay. Thank you so much, first of all, Arcadia, for inviting me to speak. So I've got quite a lot to run through. It's going to be quite quick. Please make some notes or just ask me at the end. And if you want to share the slides with people after the seminar, you're very welcome to. So just a little bit about me to start with. So my background, as I was introduced, my background's in corporate manufacturing. I was in corporate manufacturing for 20 years, and then I worked in some small and medium businesses, and I've had my own business for the last 9 years. My specialism is marketing particularly, but I also have a commercial angle, so I've worked commercially facing in corporate, so I've worked knowing numbers, I know what business profit is, I know what pressures can be, I know what resource you have to have in business, whether that's big business or small business. Okay, so I understand that. I'm not a marketeer that comes in with a bottle of champagne and says you need to spend loads of stuff on marketing. You need to make sure your marketing works for your business, okay? I've got 2 kids, a 15-year-old and an 18-year-old. I nearly said 17, she's 18 now, I know, frightening. A little dog called Milo, and I have a husband, and that is the pecking order in my house. That's how it works. It's just how it is, right? And I enjoy walking, reading. I've just started creative writing about a year ago. I go swimming in the river, crazy, very cold at the minute. And I've just started playing the ukulele. So we all have to have like little weird things we do. Okay. Yeah, okay. So what are we going to do today? Again? So we're going to talk a little bit about what marketing is. It's going to be very, very quick. What your marketing is going to deliver. So business marketing 101, so the foundations. So Ruth mentioned about, this is blissful, by the way. You did a perfect segue for me to come in. So she talked about foundations in business. It works exactly the same in marketing. You have to have the foundations there first. Marketing channels and tactics, so what channels you're going to look at, what tactics, what activity you're going to put into your marketing. And then I'll have some little guidelines to finish with at the end. Okay. So let's start at the beginning. Okay. So there are a couple of definitions here, which you're welcome to read. And again? Okay. Perfect. So you can, read the definitions. They're just out of the dictionary, to be honest. But in basic terms, this is my kind of definition at the very bottom, okay? So for me, marketing is identifying an opportunity or a gap in the market. You might see a gap. You might see somebody who's doing something already and you think you could do it better. You also could identify a need. So maybe there's a gap in the market where there's a service being provided. It's not a full service that you believe is a full service, and you can add to that to add value to the people that are going to benefit from it. Okay? You can identify who has the need. So Ruth again mentioned target audience. We're going to come on to that in a little bit. So identifying who would benefit from the product or service you're selling. Developing a solution and communicating that solution. How are people going to know what you're doing or what you're selling if you don't communicate it? Also create, so I've seen awareness, interest, desire, and action. So that's like a marketing funnel. You might have heard of a sales funnel before. A marketing funnel is basically, we call it AIDA. It's an acronym for awareness, interest, desire, and action. So you're creating awareness of what you're selling, the interest for people to buy, the desire, so they understand why it would benefit them, so they have a need for it, and then the action to actually buy from you, so call to action. And then building a loyal customer base, building those relationships with your customers to make sure they come back and buy from you again, or they tell other people why they need to buy from you. And they can be used as your ambassadors then. Okay? So what does marketing deliver? Marketing is a massive, massive array of stuff, basically. I can deliver so much for you. So, again, it's a whole list. You can read it yourself. I don't need to read it to you. But some key things is communication and brand reputation. Brand reputation these days is absolutely vital. You need to be really clear and authentic about what your brand is being presented as, and you need to walk the talk and live the walk, or whatever the expression is, I can't remember. But you need to make sure that you're actually doing what you say you're doing. So even behind the scenes, if you say, for example, you're a sustainable business, you need to clarify what that means, and you need to demonstrate why you consider yourself as a sustainable business. It defines your offer. It creates connections and engagement. It supports a buying decision, so it helps people decide what they want to buy, how they want to buy from you. It builds loyalty and trust, increases sales, helps you make informed decisions because you gather data from your marketing, so you know what you need to action and what you don't want to action. And of course, it gives you competitive advantage as well. Okay, so 101. So this is what I call foundations of marketing. Okay? And this is kind of what I'm going to breeze through tonight. So these are your headlines we're going to talk about. So Ruth mentioned vision and mission statement. Again, brilliant. Thank you very much for that. So I'm going to touch on that really, really briefly. We're going to look at objectives. Again, hopefully backs up what Ruth said as well. Target audience, current position of the business, values, a value proposition which is quite different to values, so don't get that confused, and competitor activity. First of all, sorry, I forgot that bit. All encompassed in one plan, of course, a marketing plan. So again, Ruth alluded to a business plan. In the same way, you should have a marketing plan because it provides you focus and consistency. And it's really important. It keeps you on track. It gives you something to focus on so you know exactly where you're going with things. And we all feel, actually, whether you think you're a planner or not, we all feel loads more comfortable when you have a little bit of a plan. It doesn't have to be like in massive detail, but some sketchy plan, at least, is something better than nothing. Okay. So why should we plan? So I've just mentioned, it gives you focus and consistency, it helps you tell the story, it gives you knowledge because you're then collating data, you're measuring your performance, and that kind of informs your business, informs your decisions of what you're going to do next. It also allows you to assign roles and responsibilities to the activities you have. So if you have a team or you collaborate with other people, it allows you to be able to identify those people that will benefit the business and deliver that for you, and be accountable to that as well with deadlines. Obviously, it creates impact, and also another really important thing, especially if you are a newer business or a smaller business where your resource is tight, it gives you the gaps, identifies the gaps that you might have, whether it's time, whether it's money, whether it's people, that you need to work on or you need to put in place before you can actually have your business growing. Okay? Sorry. And just like a business plan, it's not something that needs to be written and just left in a drawer. That's the worst thing you can ever do with any planning. So I also agree with like a one-page plan. I also agree with a more in-depth plan, which I'll come on to a bit later. But for me, any planning you do needs to be a movable feast. So you need to be reviewing it regularly. And that might be, it doesn't have to be every day or every week necessarily, but it might be on a monthly basis depending on where you are at with your business. It might be every 3 months. It certainly shouldn't be any more. You shouldn't leave it any more than 6 months. Because things happen. It's not just changes in your business, it's changes outside of your business that impact your business, and you need to be agile and flexible for that as well. Okay, so we're going to start with vision and mission statements. So again, Ruth alluded to that. If you move on, thank you. Very, very high, and again, thanks. I need to stop putting so many builds in, don't I? Oh, go back quickly. It's fine. So yeah, as Ruth said, it's like one single statement. So I put vision and mission here together because sometimes, especially when you're a small business, it's easy just to have it in one statement. But it is that. It's one statement. It might be one sentence or a really short paragraph to say actually what your aspiration is of the business. How are you going to impact the world? That's how big this is. It's like, how are you going to like put your footprint on this planet with your business? Okay, so high, wide, and ultimate gain. Okay, so I've got some examples. Thank you. So Tesla, for example. So we all know Tesla, yeah? Okay, so Tesla's vision statement is to accelerate the world's transition to renewable energy. So we all know them for cars, but they also do solar panels, they do solar batteries. So one way or the other, their mission is to make sure that people are aware and have access to, eventually, hopefully, it'll all be available for everyone, solar and renewable tech. Okay? Nike is another one, another great mission statement, okay? So I don't know if you can read that, so I'll read it out for you. So the mission is bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. And it has a little asterisk on athlete because I don't consider myself as an athlete, so technically they'd be like, yeah, not for you. But actually they've got down here, if you have a body, you are an athlete. Massively inclusive, yeah? So they want to inspire and innovate for everybody. And then I've got mine, which probably isn't quite as impressive really, but there we are. But I want to inspire, I want to help people grow. Doesn't matter what industry you're in, I just want businesses to grow and be sustainable, as in longevity of business. I want you to succeed. Whatever that looks like for you, that's what my aim is. That's what my big mission is. Okay? Okay. So objectives. Again, Ruth briefly mentioned about goals for business. The same thing should be for your marketing. You should never have a marketing plan or any ideas of launching a business without any objectives in there. And they might be financial, they might be something completely different. Okay? So, ooh, that's interesting. Oh, that's to make sure you're still awake. Okay. So, what do you want your marketing to deliver? Is it sales? Is it market share? Do you want traffic to your website? You need to decide what that success looks like for you. Don't compare it to anyone else. That's what you need to decide. If you need money in your pocket, that is your objective. That might be your business objective. Your marketing objective might be more inquiries because then you convert them to money in your pocket. Okay? So, has anyone heard of the SMART framework before? Yes. Oh, excellent. Okay, you're all experts. I don't need to talk about it then. Okay, so for those who haven't, SMART basically is an acronym for, and again? Okay, so this is what the acronym means down here. So specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely, okay? So when you're setting out your objectives for your business, and again, there could be overall business objectives, like if you were working with Ruth, there could be marketing objectives if you're working with someone like me. Either way, they need to be really, really specific, because if they're not specific enough, you can't measure them. If you're saying, I want to make £1 million, okay, well, if I give you 300 years, would that do? Oh, you want it tomorrow? Oh, okay. So you need to be really specific and have some detail in there. It has to be measurable. So what are you going to measure? Are you going to measure income? Are you going to measure inquiries, phone calls, traffic to your website? And how often are you going to actually monitor that? Are you going to look at it every week, every day? Every month? Is it achievable? Do you have the people in the business or the time or the money to be able to achieve what you think you want to achieve? Do you need funding? Do you need grants? Do you need some investors? Do you need materials? Do you need premises? Whatever that is. So it's assessing and planning what you have now and what you will need to be successful. is it realistic? Is it a fit for the business? So I mentioned to Lacardia's my little unique thing about plate spinning. Yeah, it's a circus trick. It's quite fun, actually. But if I went to the market and said, okay, so I can write you a marketing strategy and I can write you a marketing plan, I can also teach you how to spin plates. So some people might say to me, yeah, that's great. I'd love to be able to spin a plate. It'd be brilliant. Most people go, what? It's just like, that doesn't make any sense. So does it fit with the business? You might have two different brands that have an umbrella brand, which is fine. You can do that, but that's a completely different way of marketing the business. You need to make sure the marketing you're doing is focusing on that one brand and delivering the benefits it has. And then is it timely? So can it actually be done? Have you set yourself a ridiculous timeline where actually it's just not feasible? Or have you given yourself too much time and you overachieve, which is great. So I've got an example. It's more top-line specific, business specific, but you can translate this to marketing as well. So for example, for our very top-line specific detail, we want £50,000 income, so revenue in the business, per month by the end of March next year. So if you go down through the acronym, so it's measurable because we're looking at pounds, so we can measure that, income. We've said we're going to look at it we want to monitor it every month, but we're going to actually probably look at it weekly because we need to make sure we're on track for that. And we've given ourselves a deadline for the end of March next year. And the way, if you are then measuring that every single week, you can see how far apart you are towards that goal. So if you're going to be like way ahead and you're actually going to hit that early, excellent. Move your goal, make it bigger. If you're going to have a drag and maybe you're not going to be able to achieve that, okay, well, why? What's happened there? Assess that, have a look. Don't beat yourself over the head with it, but just say, well, why isn't it happening? So is it achievable? Do we have the staff? Do we have materials or space? Do we have the skill set? Is there a gap in the market for it? And again, is that 31st of March actually realistic? If you need to apply for funding or investors, you need to prepare a business plan, probably with a marketing plan as well. That might take a few months. Then you have to go into boards and groups of people and present and everything else. Will March be the right date for you? You decide, but decide realistically. Okay. So target audience. So again, Ruth mentioned this briefly. So the idea of target audience is basically getting to those people who are going to buy from you first, because that means the distance between you investing either your time, your money, your people in your marketing activity and getting money in your till, however that appears, is the shortest time possible, because that's what you want, okay? So it's finding those people, so it's developing personas. You might have heard of personas before, so it's kind of almost creating little characters. So where do people live? How do they dress? Where do they shop? What age are they? What gender are they? What kind of habits do they have? Where do they go on holiday? All that kind of stuff. And then you can connect with them, so you find out where they go or where they find their information, and you be on there, so you're in their periphery, you're in their area, if you like, in their kind of like garden, and you're there for them to see. And you can build those relationships with them. And the more you can build the trust with them, the more they'll get to know you, then they'll trust you, and then they'll want to buy from you. And if they don't want to buy from you, the important thing is that they might know someone who can buy from you, okay? But what you're looking for are those little bullseyes on your target. You want the ideal target audience that's going to work for you. Again, not anyone else. You might have something very specific, and that's what you need to look at, okay? Another thing to do is put a line in the sand of where your business is now. So you might be a brand new startup, you might have been in business 5 years, 10 years, 25 years. It's irrelevant. You need to make a mark where you are now, again, aligned with your objectives, because then you have the distance between now and there, and then you can measure how you're performing against that. So you can make sure if you are working towards that, or again, if maybe you're not being as quick as you'd like to be, or you're going to overshoot that massively and you can extend your objective again. So you're looking at current performance, current activity, and again, current resource, very, very important. So here we can identify gaps, again, in resource or gaps in your objective. Look at starting point, resources, and you can use a SWOT analysis. Everyone know what a SWOT analysis is? Yeah, so looking at strengths of your business. Strengths of your business, great marketing content, by the way. Any strength of your business, you can use for marketing content. Tell people how brilliant you are. Don't be shy. Weaknesses, obviously, want to improve on those. Opportunities, again, they might be your weaknesses. But you move into that. Threats might be internal things like cash flow, staff turnover. They might also be external pressures like government regulations or interest rates or anything like that. Okay. And the business values, again, it was music to my ears that Ruth put this in her presentation as well, because like Ruth said, they are core standard values that are basically, if you are the founder of that business, those values will be your values as well as the business's values. And it helps you develop the culture. Oh, Lord, this is like, and there are loads of things. Yeah, you can keep them coming. And once more. Thank you. So you can pick out of all these tactics what would suit you. But again, have a think about what suits your business, what suits your resources. This is not good. There's lots of crashing everywhere. So dead quick roundup. So we've looked at vision and mission statement very quickly. So that's your intention. That's your overall high intention and communicating that. Your objectives, so measuring and monitoring your efficiency and your effectiveness. Your business values, so culture and aligning those with your target audience. Your value propositions, your unique selling points. Target audience, making sure you're really effective with the investment you're putting in there to make sure you're maxing your ROI. Your current status, your starting points, and your gap and resource gap. Your competitor, USPs, and channels and tactics, and whatever's best suited and manageable to you. Okay. So really quickly, some essential guidelines. So this is my advice to you. You decide if you want to take it or not. That's your choice. So I would have a strategic plan, so make sure it's a longer term plan, underpinned by tactics, which are short-term plans or activities. Define personas so you can make sure you're targeting the right audience. You find the audience that's right for your business and right for your proposition, okay, or the gap. Tailor your marketing to those most likely to buy first. Balance offline with online. Question your message for clarity all the time. So make sure you do test and trial all the time, making sure that the message you're putting out is actually what they want to hear and is being really clear for them. Monitoring, measuring, absolutely critical. Otherwise, how are you going to know whether you're progressing or not? Brand alignment, cohesion, making sure it's really consistent. So even if you are one of many or one of few, it doesn't make any difference. Everybody talks the same talk. Everyone wears the same values. The culture is just instilled in the business the whole way, whether you're accounting, whether it's finance, whatever it is. And then, I shouldn't need to say this, but professionalism. I mean, it goes without saying. If you can be really professional in your business, you can build those relationships. It goes that whole kind of like people know you, people trust you, people will buy from you or refer from you. And then, how do you bring it all together? So, a one-page marketing plan, literally. In fact, I've tasked a networking group before to fill this in 15 minutes. We did a marketing plan in 15 minutes. Now, that does give you, like Ruth said, a very, very top line, kind of cream of the top plan, and you can spend some time later on filling that in and giving some more detail, and that's what I would advise you to do. But this can get you started. There's nothing wrong with doing something like this that you can look at every single day and remind yourself what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how far you're progressing. But please have some extra information behind that. But each of these sections covers what I've pretty much spoken about today. So we've got objectives. We're looking at SMART framework objectives we talked about, target audience, which channels we're going to look at, where we are now, so SWOT analysis, the core brand values, looking at our competition, and then adding on an action timeline. So what actions are you going to carry out, by when, and who's going to help you do it, or who's accountable? What budget do you have? Is that people? Is it money? And then what metrics are you going to measure yourself on to make sure your business is being successful in whatever form that is for you? And that concludes that. Thank you. That's it.
I believe you're all taking notes or at least recording on your phones or something, because this is amazing stuff. And like I said, I won't be saying much. Just to mention that at the end of all the presentations, we will have a time for some questions. So I know you've got burning questions. Some of you are ready to start the businesses or are already in the process. So yeah, I know you've got burning questions, but just save them. We're all going to have a time to ask some questions. Okay, thank you so much again, Jo. Give it up for Jo one more time. Thank you very much. Thank you. I am now going to call upon Sharon. Sharon, right, I'm going to confess. The surname, we were arguing. Where is she? She's here, come over. I'll let you do this. We're arguing about the surname. I said, how do we pronounce it? She's like, yeah, we'll ask, but yeah, we didn't get to ask, but yes. Over to you, Agatha.
Sharon Braithwaite.
Right,
Oh,
so she's
thank
got
you.
it.
So we are having Miss Sharon Braithwaite, and she is big. Her role is to grow ecosystem to be able to connect businesses to enhance networking, adding value to startup and SMEs through our Barclays Eagle Lab proposition and national connectivity. She's worked for Barclays for over 16 years now, from cashier, personal banker, small business manager to now her current role. As a working mom and building her career over the past years hasn't been a smooth journey, but she loves to help other people reach their goals and overcome challenges. Well-being is very important to her. We all need to be kind, she says, to each other, but one of the hardest things is to be kind to ourselves. She holds networking events, and her passion is to you never know who's in the room that day. Like you never know who's in the room that day. Working with startups, uni spin-outs, entrepreneurs, also SMEs in all industries, looking to innovate and grow in inspiring and it makes her very, very proud. So may we please put our hands together this evening as we welcome Sharon.
So I'm going to be really unprofessional tonight, and I've got no slides with me at all. I just think sometimes the Eagle Lab website is massive. It is massive. So for me to click through every single part of it, you would just literally switch off. What I'm going to try and do is explain the difference between banking and Eagle Labs, because it's massive. So I started in the bank 17 years ago now, as a cashier. Quickly moved on to personal banking because I talked too much on the counter and the queue got bigger and bigger. So then I went into small business. So everything that we've spoken about tonight, Jo, Ruth, great, but they were my core values through Barclays. So we did our objectives every year, we did PD reviews, it's corporate. So I get that side of it, but from an employee side, which came in handy when I moved into this role. Small business was quite challenging. I would see 15 appointments a week, and like you say, a lot of them would fail, unfortunately. We didn't do budget planners with them, we didn't do business plans with them. It was literally open the account, do you want a Barclay card, do you want a PDQ machine, see you later, which is awful, do you know what I mean? So now, this role that I've got is much, much better. Sorry, am I moving around too much? It's because I move and talk, it's me dancing, you see. So my daughter started in Barclays, and she said, Mum, we're working out of this place, it's called an Eagle Lab. Now, bearing in mind, I worked in the bank, nobody's mentioned Eagle Labs to me at all. And I went, an Eagle Lab? What's an Eagle Lab? And it was the old prison at Northallerton had been turned into a co-working space, and they called them Eagle Labs. I thought, oh. So I trotted in with my uniform on, my little trolley behind me, and everyone's walking about in trainers and dead casual stuff, and I thought, this is a bit strange. Started talking to the girl who, as an ecosystem manager, about what I like to do, things like that, and Amy said, you know what, you'd be great at this job. I said, what? I said, you do events, you just speak to people, and you get paid for that. She was like, yeah. And I was like, really? So I did. So I went for the job, but it was in Hull. So it was a bigger pay rise, I'm going to admit, and it was something that I liked to do. So I took the job in Hull, so that's where I've been for 2 years. But I'm now back in Tees Valley, which is really great. And we're working out of Flock, which is on Albert Road. And as an ecosystems manager, my job is to connect you with people like Ruth and Jo and everybody in this room, because I can't do everything, but it's my job to know where to point you in the right direction. Eagle Labs was started back in 2015 in old warehouses where people went in with an idea, and that's where the laboratory side comes from it. It's an experiment you can try. If you fail, it doesn't matter, we'll try again. So it's evolved massively since then. We've got 37 sites across the country. We've also now got another 4 in London, but we're in York, Manchester, Lincoln. Lincoln's really cool. It's attached to a farm, So they do all the robotics and things like that. With Harper University, we've got York, which is attached to the Guildhall. A lot of them with universities, Leicester, that type of thing. So they cover a lot of, and I hate to use the word tech, so for me it's, there is a lot of tech involved, so people building apps, websites, that type of thing. But she was a traditional business, innovating and growing. So whether it be that you introduce that, or you're taking on more staff, or you need to look at your marketing a bit better, that's you innovating and growing your business. So as an ecosystems manager, my role is to know where to direct you. That's the easiest way I would say it. I can talk about business accounts a little bit tonight because of my small business background, and I do know how you would apply for a business account, but it's not my first conversation that I would have. We build the foundations, like you said, you build from the bottom. We've just started something called the Eagle Lab Academy, so you can access that online, and it is start a business, product and design, sales and marketing, leadership and management, and it's something that you can work through on your own. What I found in Hull was a lot of businesses couldn't afford to go to somebody for marketing at the very beginning. They just didn't have the money. I worked with a guy who did robotics, and he's doing really, really well. He sent this robot into areas where there was chemicals, and it would detect whether the chemicals were still in the room. And he hit that stumbling block where he needed to market the business, but he just didn't have the money. He was applying for grants, applying for funding. So we joined up with the university, and the marketing director there put him in touch with the student, who then took it on. He then had another employee. He got the expertise of the student and the lecturer for free, which is great. So it depends what level of business you're at, really, I think, for me, but we do deal with that very early stage idea, those uni spin-outs, those entrepreneurs that think, do you know what, I really want to do this, but I'm just not quite sure how to do it. And that's where I would sign your post to. You don't have to bank with Barclays. They have nothing to do with opening a bank account. I would talk to somebody when they're on that little bit bigger journey, when they've had a bit of investment, when they've grown a little bit more. But at the beginning, you can open it with Starling, you can open it with Metro, open it wherever you need to. We can put you again in touch with people that can sort that out for you, but it's not where I sit in my role. My role is to make sure that we give you the right tools to get you started. So I have the great job of doing events. I love holding events. So if you've got a business and you want to come and speak, so we've just done our first Asian Founders in Teesside, which went down really, really well. We had Yasmin Khan there from Halo Project. We had Imran speak. We had Sunny Chatter. She's got her own HR company. We do different founders. So we found that in different sort of areas, people find challenges more with starting a business. So females, massive one. So we've got our Women in Task Force, which has just started up in London. Hannah Bernard, which is head of business, she runs the Women in Task Force. We've actually got a Women in Business hub now on the website. We've got our Black Founders, which is fantastic. Natalie started that up in London. So we've done loads of different events to bring the challenges forward. The first one we held was in Northallerton, our Black History Month event, which I think somebody was there. Where's he gone? The guy that does the magazine, he was there for that one. We've got neurodiverse founders, because what we've found within the sort of creative space and the tech space. So I'm dyslexic, I found out 6 years ago, but my mind, I can create all sorts in my mind, but I didn't realise that was because I was dyslexic. I just thought I was a bit, But yeah, so we know that people face different challenges. We've got our veteran founders now, so our people coming out of the forces, starting their own business. They may suffer with PTSD, which would make that hard for them to communicate with different people, or the way they speak in a civvy language to somebody that's in the army, totally different. So we do cover a lot of different separate founders. It's free. All of it's free. It's a free service. You can become a virtual member. If you did sign up to it, you would probably get directed to me now because you're in this Tees Valley area, or you would get in touch with a virtual and they would do a Teams. But if you've got me to speak to, you're better off just coming and speaking to me, aren't you? On the site, we've got 37 mentors on there, so you can have 3 free hours with any of the mentors. They're on from Cambridge Judge School, Code-Based, Accelerator, lots of different ones are on there. They've all got little bits of bio with them, so they'll let you know what their expertise is. So if you're looking for pitch deck, so you have to maybe go and pitch somewhere and you think, I can't do that, you can click onto a mentor, have an hour with them, go through your pitch deck with it. It might, like we say, it could be value proposition. But yeah, so that's all on the site for free. What else have we got on there? See, it's crazy. It's a beast. It is a beast. So that's Eagle Labs in a nutshell. Also, the connectivity, I suppose, across the country. So if you're working in Leeds, we've got a lovely lab in Leeds. I could ring up and say, right, we've got this founder, they want to come to Leeds for the day. Can they use the lab? There may be a charge because they're partnered with different people, so it's not, we don't own the buildings. So they could say, yes, it's 20 quid for the day or whatever to have a hot desk. You could go to Lincoln, you could be in London. We do a lot with Rise, which is fintech. We've got different industry verticals. So within the Eagle Lab website, you'll find AI and technology. If you join the community, there's fireside chats on there that you can join into. There's new events that come on, everything that's new within AI and technology. Again, with the agri-tech, there's stuff on there for health and science. So whatever's going on within, the health industry, new apps, that type of thing. So it's massive. It's massive, but just take from it what you need. That's what my advice would be. Have a look at it. Just, it might not suit everybody, but there will be something on there that I think you will find that you can use. What I want to talk about, another thing, we've got digital wings, which I've just been introduced to. So when I started in the bank, we all had to have our digital wings. I got a little silver badge that I used to wear, but I got wrong because I shouldn't have had it, but I wore it anyway because I liked it. And you got a little scroll to say that you'd passed your digital wings. Basically, when we went into banking apps and things like that, we had to know how to do that. So it's funny, isn't it? Because we did a meeting one morning and somebody gave me an old Nokia phone to send a text on, and I was like, I have no idea how we use that. But some old people will have them old phones, so we had to go through all that stage of like being able to do that. So Digital Wings was brought forward, and a meeting I was on with our local specialists. Digital Wings, again, is free. You just look for it on the internet, and I'll share all the links with you so you can share them out. And it tells you even how to work an Android phone on there. It tells you how to start a computer. I know it sounds daft, but it's things like that. Instagram, it shows you what you should be putting on there. It shows you LinkedIn. It talks about cyber. It's called the Learning Catalogue, and it just literally, it sort of says community or business or social. Click on it and it'll bring you up the different categories. You can actually go on there and become a digital champion. So if you wanted to deliver a session at any of the meetings, you could actually do that yourself once you've done your digital champion. So that's us, that's Barclays. So as like I said, we'll start with a Starling or a Monzo or whatever, and then as they evolve, then they'll open a different bank account. I can put you in touch with people to talk about that. Again, me as a connector, that's what I would do. But my role is more about giving you the tools or connecting you to the right people to make sure that them foundations are built properly. And like I say, I don't think there's anything on there that we couldn't do. We do something called Demo Directory, and that's where if you are looking for funding or investment eventually, you would upload your business onto there with a pitch deck, and we've got 350 investors that sit on the other side of that. We don't have anything to do with the connectivity because we'd have to be regulated to do that. Again, we don't lend, we're not bank, we work with the bank. So then an investor would go on and they would say, right, I want to invest in, I don't know, an IT company in Tees Valley, and then they would match on there. So it's a good way to get that. But the events are good as well. You know, we do lots of events, like, you know, Jo's been to some of the events. It's great, Ruth. You know, you could do an event for us. We can come out and do events all over the place. We don't have to do them in flock. We can move around, which is nice. But the ones that we do are very well attended, and the speakers are really, really good as well. So I would encourage you, if you've not been in, pop in, have a coffee. You don't know who's in there. They've got a fantastic podcast room if you're into doing your podcasts. I sadly can't do it because apparently I'm not signed off to speak publicly, even though I do it every day. Yeah. So I was like, oh, can I do a podcast? I've got a podcast room. They were like, no, because you're not a certain level, you're not signed off to speak publicly. So I was like, right, damn, how am I going to get into that? So yeah, so that's me in a nutshell. That's Barclays Eagle Labs, and I hope that's made it a little bit clearer where the difference is between us and bank accounts, because yeah, I can help with that because of my background, but it's not something that I would do straight away. Okay. And I'll keep still a little bit more, but I've made everybody a bit sick there moving around.
Thank you. Well, give it up for Sharon again, one more time. A big round of applause for Sharon. Thank you so much for that. Now I have an idea of what a Barclays Eagle Lab is. I had no clue until you started speaking about it. I'm guessing that's the case for most of us in here. So thank you very much for that. So this time, I'll leave it for questions. I know you have burning questions. So to any one of our speakers, if you have anything you'd like to ask. Okay. We've got a mic coming to you.
Hello, thank you very much, everyone. That was amazing. I have a question for Sharon, or two, rather. I'll start with the first one. You talked about neurodiversity. Yes. And helping neurodiverse startups. So is there...
Sorry.
So
yes.
How does someone get in contact with that part of things?
So you would get in contact with me, and then what I would do is go through our neurodiverse founder support that we've got. So it is just brand new this year, but we did a full report, which is actually on the website that you can read. Mm-hmm. What you'll find is, like I say, a lot of creatives, a lot of people that have got really cool ideas, that have got really active minds. So I still say I've got ADHD with my dyslexia because, like I say, I'm on a hamster wheel constantly all the time thinking about what I can do next, and trying to get people to explain themselves when they're in that state, or I see things slightly different to other people sometimes, so it takes me a little while. If somebody's explaining it, I'm a bit like, don't quite get that. So it's that type of support that we'll give. Being confident to speak about being neurodiverse, definitely, do you know what I mean? Because it's a lot more popular than you think.
Yeah.
But, and I find once I mention my dyslexia, people open up to me a lot better, because you do feel stupid. People think you just can't spell. It's not that at all. Yeah, I struggle sometimes, but some days I'm fine. But I know when it's stronger if I'm a little bit stressed, because I struggle with little words, or if I'm reading something, I'll take something out and put something in instead, and I'll read a magazine from the back to the front. It's things, and picture brain. So I've got a picture brain, which I didn't know, because the bank put me through it all, so I could decorate this room totally different. I thought everyone could do that. I realised that it was something special, do you know what I mean? And I was like, so yeah, so it's using them skills that you've got because of that, and putting them to get some good use.
That's great. We had someone we're working with at work who's just left and gone to do a startup because they couldn't fit in the corporate system, and they've literally gone. So I'll be passing on that information to them.
So with startup accounts, you get them checked and they go off to India. That's what happens. And you can have like 10 pieces of paper, and they all had to be paper signed when I was working there. And if there was one mistake on that, it was called a repair. And if you got so many repairs, then you had to be, you got sort of basically taken down disciplinary. So I was on the verge of that, and that's how my dyslexia came out. So I've been in the bank 16 years and got my PD strong every year. And because of that, it knocked me right down. And loads of people left that were on the sick, Do you know what I mean? It was like it was crazy, but now it's talked about more within corporate spaces. It's accepted, and it's embraced, which is much better. But yeah.
Thank you. Another, sorry, quick one. I'll try to be quick. You talked about a list of investors called I think you called it the demo directory.
Demo directory.
So do you help businesses to create a good pitch on that? And do the investors have metrics that they use to measure what's good and what's bad?
I think we just, I don't get to see the investors on that side, but actually I'm going to do a plug now because I am going to run a talk investment on the 29th of October. So we will have 3 different investment companies, an early founder that's looking for investment and somebody that's had investment, and our demo directory lady there on the day. But yeah, it's just, it depends what they're looking for, but a lot of investors get 1,000 pitches a week. So your pitch has got to be good, and that's where the mentors can come in or, and give you the support with that as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to all the speakers. It was super. I found it quite inspirational. Mm-hmm. It did validate my madness, especially with, marketing and some of the things, you have spoken about. But I live in the Northeast, but Newcastle. So I wondered, does this run as well? Is there a bespoke service as well for Newcastle, or is it just for Tees Valley? Because I've always been conscious about Barclays. I've always felt like it's this posh bank just there, and then when I saw ecosystem, I'm like, what? Are they now into energy or something? Do you know what I mean? So
same as when I put it on LinkedIn, everyone was like, congratulations, what on earth is it? And I was like, right, okay. And it did take me a while for me to understand actually what I was doing, but never mind. So we have 2 of me up in Newcastle that work out of somewhere called Flow, which is as you walk up off the train station, walk up, and it used to be called Tusk Park. It was one of the first ones that opened, and it was supposed to be the gateway to international trade. So it was a Chinese company that went in there. The guy's called Hamish now that's took over the whole building. But again, it's co-working, it's events, that type of thing. The Slug and Lettuce is on the other side of the road, so if that helps, the pub's on that side. So they run events up there. They do lots of, women events, things like that you can get involved in. But what I'll do is I'll get you to share my email out at the end, and then if anybody just wants to contact me straight away, we can link in with you that way, and then I can introduce you to Dave and Sally, and then they'll just put you on their mailing system as well.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Or you can come and talk to me whenever you want.
Right, thank you very much. Any more questions?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Joe. I had
Dr. Claire, sorry.
Can you do marketing on no budget? Can you market on no budget?
Of course you can.
Right, okay.
Do you mean budget as in money, though?
Yeah.
So no money, as long as you've got time. So if it's you or someone else you're working with and you're just doing it on your time, then you don't have to spend any money. So I would never advocate for anyone to spend money on Facebook ads or anything like that before you've got your foundations of your marketing and your organic marketing working first. Because there's no point in spending money on ads if you don't really know what you're saying or who you're saying to. So once you've got your foundations, once you've got your business foundations that Ruth was talking about first, so your why, and then your business planning, and then you can underpin that with your marketing planning. And then once your organic marketing is working, if you think you need to spend money on ads to target specifically certain target audiences on social media, for example, then okay, but you need a good budget. Like £10 a day ain't going to cut it. You're going to be looking at a good couple of £1,000 a month. So, you can do it, absolutely can do it. I spend a lot of time marketing my business, although not as much as I probably should. But I don't spend a lot of money marketing my business.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
I've got one more question, is that okay? Yeah. I feel like I've just been going on. Thank you so much, Ruth. My question to you is, Yeah, my question, why is it running away from my head? Too many things going on all at once. Gosh, it will come back to me. Yeah. Good.
I'll ask a question while she's remembering. It's coming back. I'm going to ask to Ruth. So you talked about, I had it here, leadership. Yes. And you talked about, you touched on the points of all the values of a leader. And then you talked about reading. So I was going to ask, what's on your reading list? What's your top list?
Oh, yeah, that is a good question. So at the moment, I'm not reading anything. Although I always suggest that, I know you probably hear it all the time, so Think and Grow Rich, right? Because I think it doesn't just apply to financial planning. I think it applies to a lot of business principles and business life. I'm very grounded in my faith. I don't mean to impose it on anyone. But for me too, I find a lot of stories in the Bible actually teach you a lot about, things that are proper strategies. And until you do the other reading, you won't understand it. There's so many examples of people in the Bible that I look up to and say, wow, she was doing it, and she was doing this marketing in this way. She was speaking to the community. She was going out. She was marketing, all of those things as well. So that's also like another book that I do like to read. There is another book, it's escaping me, but I always recommend it to all women, and I don't know why I'm not saying it. But I'm going to find it, and I'm going to let you know before the end of this evening. But it's about not thinking small. I think like as women especially, we tend to be so timid, and we tend to be, we make ourselves small. But this book really challenges you to challenge just any conceptions around what womanhood looks like, or just what society is saying, and just makes you become that big person. And for me, not only that am I petite, but it really helped me boost my confidence, and actually just accepting that, okay, I am qualified to be here. I think just the challenges I faced in corporate, just being a triple whammy minority tick box, right? I had a lot of self-confidence challenges, and that book really helped me. I was like, yeah, of course I can do this. I'm at the table, I've got the seat, so now I need to make an impact. I'm just going to find that book. It's just escaped my head.
Yeah, so remember now. So the question here is, how do you deal with, I'm at the process of getting a grant, from this company. However, they've asked me to do another business plan, and they've sent me an example of what my business plan should look like, and it's about 10 pages, right? Mm-hmm. Now I've got no problems writing all of that, that's my forte. But I'm thinking, why do I have to do that? And I've come here today, and you're talking about make your business plan small, and then this company is asking for this huge Bible, for Pete's sake. And I'm like, why? Why do I have to do that? How do I sell my short, simple, concise, straight to the point, in your face plan to them? That's wrong. Or do I just go with what they want for the sake of the grant? You know what I mean?
So what Joe said, it's great to have that one pager, but it does need to be supplemented with a detailed plan behind it. Okay. So do you have a business plan?
Yes, I do. And I have the detailed one as well.
So it's just condensing?
Yeah.
Because for some businesses, the reason why they give you a template is for their own internal processes. It's not because of you or...
It's really not their template. They've sent me someone else's business plan, which is weird. I'm thinking, is that not plagiarism? But it's a huge... It's a huge government, do you know what I mean? So maybe they've got the person's, I'm thinking, because it's my forte to write long things and stuff like that. I can describe forever. But I was just thinking, with all this I've had today, I'm thinking, okay, should I just go with the flow, or should I just stick to my...
Yeah, I think definitely condense it down. Right. There is definitely a reason why they've shared that business plan with you. Right. So it could just also be part of their internal processes. And for them, it's just so they can sort of evaluate everyone in the same way. Because if you do a business plan and it's one pager and someone does 100-page, how do they know who's what? So I definitely say if you are applying for grants, it's always good to follow the guidance of that funder or of that body because that's just their process. If you go to someone else, they will be different. And unfortunately, that's the thing about funding and doing all these proposals, is that you will have to do like a million different variations of the same thing. But that's just what you have to do.
Thank you so much for answering our questions. So I'm just going to leave this time to Dr. Claire to finish off for us. Thank you all.
Thank you so much to our incredible speakers. It's been inspiring, super empowering. I feel like a new person. So on behalf of our boss, on behalf of my boss and our director, Lady Locadia, I want to thank everyone, especially our speakers, for making out the time.